Hey, everybody. It's Mark Hope with The Mark Hope Show, and I've got Mr. Daniel Kelly.
Hi, guys. How's everybody doing? Hey, Jeff.
Daniel is sitting in the air chair, and he is going to be more of a part of the show, and then instead of just producing, but he is going to be looking at that camera angle because we've got a guest. Mike Learn is going to be on the show tonight. And you guys are in for a hell of a ride with Mr. Learn. And
I'm excited. That's going to be fun.
yeah, I'm not coming up here.
What's up? Why are you not? What's going on?
Okay. There's a lag. My live wasn't coming up.
Oh, I got it.
It's a little lagadacious.
A little bit.
Janet Johnson saying hi, guys. Hi, Janet. Familiar faces. Rory from Oklahoma. Nate.
Wayne. Wayne is in.
Wayne Harris has joined the podcast.
All right, guys. So we have a great show for you tonight. We've got a couple things to talk about first, and then we're going to get Mr. Learn. We go by Mr. Learn? Mr. Learn on the show.
I think that's his dad.
Oh, Mr. Okay, gotcha. First.
I think in some circles we might call him Lord Learn.
Lord Learn. Perfect. All right. First things first, when I give a shout out to
Our sponsors.
That's right. There we go.
Action Computers, big sponsor of the show.
And we also have, I lost it. Oh yeah, it just didn't. What was the other one? We didn't get
Marketing Hope.
That's right. And the other one.
Some of our mini sponsors are Better Brokerage Services, if you want to buy or sell a business. We're going to have all the sponsors of the show are going to be notated in the show notes. Go ahead and like us on iTunes and Google Play. Go ahead and like and subscribe on YouTube if you can. And we just love to keep in touch with you and do a service for all of our great sponsors. We've got that Indian restaurant in Littleton, Best of India's. Yeah. And they're working with us, and they give all the show listeners a super deal. There's a dinner for two, like 3 or 4 course dinner for $40. All they got to do is say that they heard about it on the Mark Hope Show, and they're at Windermere and Littleton Boulevard.
That's awesome.
In the Woodline Shopping Center. And I know I got a lot of my Littleton people out there, so definitely go over and see her. What a great restaurant and great partners for us. And
go ahead, keep going.
We've got All Around Auto Care that is doing a great job for us. And we've got a couple of other ones that'll show up in the notes.
They're telling me they can't hear me. That's why I want to take a quick look at that real quick.
They can't hear you?
Yeah, I'm too quiet.
Can they hear me?
They can. Oh yeah, they can hear you just fine. They just cannot hear me, and I don't know why. Let's see if we figure out why that is.
But just to let everybody know, I've got Scott John Claus.
Yeah,
he's calling in.
He's calling.
He was calling in. Maybe we'll call him later, and we'll actually have him on the show. But this show is all about small businesses and how we help small businesses and, different ideas about getting your business online and promoting your business. We take all kinds of questions from all of our listeners, like how much money should it take to start my business, or I'm doing a side gig business, and, when should I quit my job? I've been doing my own businesses for 30 years. I've been doing the marketing for those businesses as long as the internet has existed, because that's how old of a cat I am. But we love to talk to all of our small businesses and all the people that are coming up.
Right. People that have a dream and they're going to turn their hobby into a side gig and then turn their side gig into a business. That's what we like to talk to. Is that better? Can you guys hear me better now? I turned myself up a little bit.
I'm going to take this call.
Okay.
On air.
All right, sure.
There's a fire at the store? A fire at Action Computers. All right. Okay, bud. Thanks. Buddy of mine said there's a fire at the Arvada computer store.
Should we?
Jeff, if you're listening, please check into that.
He is here. Well, he was on. Let's see.
Sorry, everybody.
Should we just stop this for a second and come right back?
No, just go ahead. Get Mike on the phone. Let's do the show.
All right. Mike, we're going to get you on the phone here in just 1 second here.
Yeah, well, apparently there's a fire at the Arvada store. Yeah, figure it out and come back up here and see me.
Is he here?
He is.
All right, let's get this started here. Okay. All right. We're gonna get Mike on the phone here and get that started, and hopefully the fire is not a big deal. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, here we go. You're gonna need your headphones, and all right, here we go. Fun little music.
Hello?
That's Mike.
Hey, you got me.
All right, hey, Daniel and Mark from the Mark Hope Show.
What's up, guys?
Um,
Is there really a fire? Is
technical
there really a fire
difficulty.
going on?
We're checking into that.
All right,
Hopefully
I'm
not.
in. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good.
I shared it. Hopefully it. I did that right. It's the first time I've ever tried to share something, a watch party. Is that what you called it?
Yeah. It's
Hopefully
just
that
a watch
worked.
party. That way,
Okay.
that way, your friends will see what we're doing tonight.
Right on. So what are we doing tonight?
Well, and this is going to be a great show.
Cool.
Mike has been a good friend of mine for a long time. And if you want to know about Mike, you can do several internet searches and tell Mike about the poll we put up.
So we've added. Oh, and I think I'm going to add that now. All right. So, all right, you guys should be able to see it here. But we got the question here. What is Mike Learn's first love aside from his family? And Mike, don't answer this right away. But the options are art, motorcycle fabrication, or playing music. It's probably a hard choice.
And
but
don't answer.
Don't answer.
But we're gonna let the listeners guess.
At the end of our call, then you can tell everybody what the right answer is. But right now they're gonna vote.
But
Okay.
our show is really based on people that are running their own businesses, Mike, and you are probably the most famous guest that we've had on this show, and you certainly the most talented guy that I know. Not only as far as working in art with your hands, but actually reinventing yourself along the way in doing several different businesses that revolve around your different loves and your different talents. So maybe you can share with some of the audience about some of the businesses that you do.
Well, I have a very diversified range of things that I enjoy doing. And I'm blessed to have the opportunity to do the variety of things that I have been able to accomplish. A lot of the stuff that I do has kind of just evolved, something that I maybe never really had an intent of having it be a business. Building motorcycles is a hobby. Building street rods is a hobby. Building BMX bikes are a hobby. Music is a hobby. But as an artist, it's something, I knew I was going to be an artist from the very first day of kindergarten. And it's something that everything else kind of evolves from. I think once I identified myself as somebody who is a creativity or a creative entity, I think that I realized that creative, for me, held many different positions in my life. Being a musician, designer, quasi-engineer, all these things are kind of related in a creative aspect. I think that, somehow they've all worked together. They funneled their way together now, being a guitar builder, that's part of my business, as well as an artist, painter, painting bikes. And, I would probably do more building bikes, but the liability to do that stuff these days is just ridiculous. And I just think that I should be content with, what I'm doing now successfully. It has been merely a byproduct of, one, my wife's support, and two, the need to adapt in an ever-changing industry like the motorcycle industry, as fickle as it is and stuff like that. But, it's certainly something that I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, but whatever it is, I'm going to do it with interest and some passion and enjoy the adventure. I guess that's what it is.
Okay, hold on one second, Mike. We got a little bit of an issue here.
Okay.
Get that audio back up and running here for everybody. Okay, I think we've got this figured out. Hold on one second.
Mm-hmm.
We're having a little technical difficulty here.
That's the least of your problems, possibly.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I'm hoping that it's just maybe a disenfranchised Corvette owner or something that might be throwing in a prank call.
Yeah, that could happen. That could happen.
All right, guys, let's give this a try.
All right.
Okay,
Are we trying?
Okay, our studio manager is saying that the audio is back up.
Well, she hears you, but everybody else is far away.
Okay.
I think I know why, and I think we are good to go. Everybody here?
All righty.
So, Mike, you were saying that you have a bunch of support from your loving wife, and you have a bunch of curiosities that take you different places with your artwork, and they end up being little businesses that happen, and then they become big businesses.
Certainly it wasn't my intent, but when I was able to start making money at it and take it beyond a hobby, and it's something I felt was right for a business. They're kind of like three guys running parallel together in a race, and at some point in time, one might be forced to drop out. But they're still running on the same team. But one guy is going to make it to the finish line, whether two others don't or not. So
he's saying that,
I think it always
Mike's audio is not working.
It's not working.
Should be.
All right. Well, anyways, that's kind of that's where it is for me. But art's kind of like the main guy. It involves me in a lot of different areas. So it's fortunate for me that it does, because the motorcycle business really has fallen flat on its face in the last 10 years.
Yes, there's a there was a time when maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, people were paying ridiculous amounts of money for Hank Young custom motorcycles, $60,000, $70,000.
Sure.
And you were in that genre, right?
Yeah, I came up right in the middle of all that, from the mid '90s, working for Roger Bourget, painting his bikes, and Dino's Custom Painting, who we did so many different builders' bikes at that point in time, and then everybody from Paul Yaffe, Bourget, and then I ran the Titan Motorcycle Company paint facility, and I was their lead design guy and head artist and stuff. So I had to do a bunch of different stuff, back then. As the computer industry was just really starting to grow, I reached in and spent the money and got a computer and really sat down and learned a bunch of vector-based programs and utilized that to separate myself from the crowd, and having to do a lot of hand stuff. I was very much in the middle of corporate America as an artist, and it's evolved, having painted so many thousands of motorcycles and some six-figure motorcycles. It was a pretty interesting time, but my own personal taste, I started to see a trend and very cliche type of, movements in the motorcycle business that I just thought were ridiculous. And one trend stopped and another one picked up somewhere that just was even more ridiculous than the last one. And maybe we're in the age of Renaissance and common sense is starting to come back around again. I'm seeing that Harley Davidson, in particular, has suffered a lot in this industry with the competition from overseas manufacturers. And I think people's willingness to be reasonable about what they need to enjoy life on. They don't need to spend $60,000 on a motorcycle to go out and ride and enjoy. I think that they're content. If they're like me, I like to go out and spend $400 on a motorcycle, and I like to spend 400 hours on it to really turn it into what is unique and something of my own liking and creative taste. So I think there's a revolution of that. I think there's a lot of support online, YouTube channels. There's a lot of little independent shows and stuff like that are promoting individual small builders who are working off of an unusual platform, something other than Harley.
And you've done several of those kind of things that I've been intimately involved with and watched. And it is amazing to me. And I know that you're capped out on friends on your Facebook channel, but if we can put some links up to different places where people can view some of the projects that you're working on, it's amazing to me that as somebody walks through the purchase of this pile of junk, and then it's completely taken apart, and then it's remanufactured into where it turns into something that's just unbelievable after you get done with it, and we get to watch all of those steps in between. That to me is fascinating. Like the Goldwing that you did just recently.
Yeah, and you had the opportunity to come up to my shop and stand right in the middle of the madness. I mean, there's nothing, there's no angels singing in the background. It's just happening, man. I just keep telling people I'm just a byproduct of a guy who can't afford my own services.
Right.
And so I simply have educated myself as much as I can in regards to fabrication. I've always, maybe not so much egotistically, but in some ways I see people on shows doing stuff, and I'm like, well, Jesus, that guy can do it. I could probably do that. You know what I mean?
And then you go out and do it.
Well, sometimes I'm not maybe as adequate as the people who do it all their lives, I would say, but I think I've become quite proficient at it for my own needs.
Well,
and
Mike, let me interject as the host. Let me tell you, Mike is being very humble. And as you get online and you look at his work, you can go to MikeLearn.com. You can go to LearnGuitars.com. And
no, Learn Guitars is gone. Everything is pretty much now. Yeah, it's just now MikeLearn.com. And it'd be Mike Learn Studios, but MikeLearn.com is my primary focal.
Okay, so if we want to go out and see examples of what you're talking about as pretty good, we can go to MikeLearn.com, and the listeners can Luann just posted a link.
Yeah, the gallery.
MikeLearn.com.
Yeah.
Look at the gallery.
Yeah.
Look at the gallery. And let me tell you, folks, you have got to really look at some of this work to appreciate, just how amazing this stuff is. And Mike, I don't want to put you on the spot or embarrass you or whatever, but I mean, you are just the most talented guy that I know. And
Thank you.
Mike did a motorcycle for me one time, and I think I told you two things about that motorcycle. It was a black motorcycle, and I said I wanted to have kind of a graveyard theme or whatever on it, and I wanted it to be a tribute to the people in my life who have ridden on and are waiting for all of us to catch up to them later. And I think that was the only two things I told you, Mike.
Yeah, well, that was a fun project, and certainly for me, those are the type of projects I enjoy. Some freedom as well as some substance to work with. And so often people spend a lot of time on my Facebook pages and stuff, and they'll look around and they'll see stuff that I've done for other people with that same frame of mind. And I do get those opportunities, because a lot of the stuff is somewhat ambiguous to look at and think, well, what did that mean to the artist? What did that mean to me when I was painting it? And I really don't necessarily have the answers either, but
I will post those pictures of my motorcycle to the feed as it goes forward and onto the permanent YouTube channel. But it has a picture airbrushed of me in front of my dad's gravestone of me as a small boy in the midst of this graveyard of all these people that have gone on. And there's a big reaper on there, and it'll be something that I will never sell. Right now, that motorcycle is my grandson's motorcycle. He's 8 years old.
Oh, awesome.
And that's
cool.
gonna be his motorcycle, and it's got Mike Learn's name painted on it, and I would never get rid of it. And if anybody ever has a chance and the means to say, hey, look, take this and make it into something for me, my suggestion is that you do that. And it was an awesome experience for me. And I would
do
it.
Have that picture handy that we can put up?
Who, me?
No, Mark.
Oh, okay.
I bet you do. How long
Yeah.
did it take to find it?
That was some time ago. What was that, 6-7 years ago?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, a while ago.
I would be showing my age. But
I'm older than you.
yeah, I don't know about that. But if we if we let's talk about guitars. Let me tell you something. When I came up to the shop to get my bike done, and Mike does this thing where it's just totally understated who he is. He would be terrible at my job. If he was running marketinghope.com, he would definitely go out of business because he doesn't promote himself. And I walked into your shop and I saw all these guitars, Mike, and it was unbelievable. These people ship guitars to you, the Grateful Dead guitars.
Yeah. You came up there when I was painting the Grateful Dead stuff at one time, I think.
I was. And
yeah, I think that was the year of the 50th anniversary. I was doing their guitars for the tour. But yeah, I do all of Bob Weir's guitars for the tour every summer. That comes through D'Angelico Guitars out of New York City. And they take those guitars and the entire band signs them, and then they auction them off for charity. And I believe the lowest amount that they've gotten for those guitars was just over a couple $100,000. And one year they got $580,000 for, I think one of them I did for Wrigley Field. And
wow.
Somebody in Chicago bought it. But yeah, it's crazy. Just to be a small part of it. And trust me, I'm not making that kind of money. That's even a small portion that reflects on the total that they get in the auction. But it's kind of cool to have that. And yeah, that's neat. I don't really get all super stoked about those things anymore. Not to say that because it's happened a million times. It's just that I just realized that it could be all gone tomorrow, and really none of it really means anything. And so it's just it's just the opportunities I've had and the people I've worked with. But beyond that, it's very small on the horizon for me. I look back and say, yeah, that's cool, but it's just I try to keep looking forward with what I'm doing, my career and with my art, stuff like that. And Grateful Dead has been really cool to work with, and many other talented musicians out there that I've had the fortunate ability to work with because of the companies that utilize my services. And so it's kind of, I've fallen into the right place at a lot of the times. And fortunately, I've been doing this for an awful long time, and hopefully that reflects as well. So
Absolutely. And would it be safe to say that, if it strikes you a certain way, you would be somebody that would do commissioned artwork?
Oh yeah, I do commissioned artwork all the time. For a lot of like album cover stuff, illustration stuff. And quite honestly, all my work is kind of commissioned in a way. Rarely have I had the time as an artist to put out my own creativity, and hopefully somebody's going to buy it, and let's say like in a fine art format where I'm doing it on canvas. Just recently, both of the girls that we were responsible for raising left the house. So I had a lot more pressure on me at that point in time that, I did whatever I needed to do, and I had to take on this and that. Didn't necessarily like to do it, but I did them all. So those were all commissioned jobs. Some stuff I didn't agree with, some stuff I wasn't exactly thrilled to do, but it's what I had to do to put, food on the table. And, so I'm actually going through a little bit of an adjustment phase right now with my career and my outlook and mentality, that I'm having a different approach and opportunity that I'm trying to mold myself into for my remaining years on this planet as an artist. I'm hoping to achieve greater impact as an artist, maybe with more discussion and content in what I do, rather than being guided merely by what somebody is willing to pay me to do. So, but as far as commissioning artwork, people do that all the time, but I think that where I'm really going to smack people around visually is when I throw aside the need to make money as an artist, and I pursue what it is that my soul tells me to do.
Well, I whenever I'm doing a life coaching session with somebody, and especially if they're young, we're all constrained by that. We have to support our families, and we have to, do all that. You can't get a tattoo on your face. I know you want to, and you want to get a neck tattoo or whatever. And it's, Lord knows I'm not against tattoos, but you can't do everything that you might want to do because we're all beholden to other people. And I think that talks about you as a business person and your wisdom as a business person, that kind of goes, in parallel with your wisdom as an artist, and knowing, those two things have to shake hands, kind of like you were talking about the guys running the race. I mean, you need to take care of your business as well as your passion.
That's very true. I mean, back in the day, let's go back to the great Renaissance period between 1500 and 1600s, when there were a lot of great artists, back in that day. And the ones we know about, the ones who were sponsored pretty much by their country and authored as state artists, so to speak, crown royal artists and such. We have a good record of their body of work throughout the years. But then there's the artist who merely, let his soul kind of live inside of his paintwork, and he didn't really necessarily have the financial support that sponsored artists would be, and state funded artists. But there's a different, I think, product in the end. And people who can speak freely from their soul, be it musically or artistically, I think they have a broader range of impact. And that's something, like you said, it's something that you sacrifice to a certain extent when you are merely trying to take care of things. I'm feeling fortunate that I've made my living the last 30 years as an artist, and there's been challenges along the way with it, but yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Part of the adventure, and having the passion and maintaining the passion and still wanting to do it, I think, the biggest battle, even with anybody who's got a business of their own. They realize the challenges that are before them, and sometimes they come in different looks, and you don't necessarily realize the adversity you're going to face. But these are the challenges that we go through mentally, and as a business owner and as an artist, it's two of them. They're kind of opposite side of the coins that I have a difficult time balancing all the time, and my wife helps me out with a lot of different perspective on that stuff, and it makes it a lot more, I guess, easier for me to adjust, because I'm somewhat stubborn in a lot of ways.
No kidding. I wouldn't know anything about that. But I do subscribe to that theory of the teamwork in the family. If you're going to be successful in business, you have to be successful at home. Everybody's got to be on the same page. Everybody's got to be willing to dig in and do the things that they have to do to support the communal effort. So your success as an artist is attributed almost as equally to your talents as to your marriage.
Well, I think, that's true. I mean,
Diane's really helped you.
Oh God, yeah.
She kind of laid down the cover fire for you to do your thing.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, marriage and sacrifices are made by both parties, and I think that's something that exists in business as well. And it's to be expected, and it's not always easy. And the toughest decisions are always the hardest ones to make, obviously, but they reap the benefits of most rewards. And oftentimes the risks and gambles and stuff like that, that you make, they grow with the significance of them and the risk that's involved. And certainly having somebody behind you, when you're about to get knocked down every now and then, it's good to have.
Well, and that brings me to one of the spots in the interview that I really wanted to go forward and talk to you about. And I asked you the question that I ask everybody before they come on the show: is there anything that's out of bounds? Is there anything I'm not allowed to talk about? And you unwisely said, no, talk about whatever you want. And so I'm not the kind of guy that you put on speakerphone, but the question that I would love to talk to you about, Mike, is failure. Because you've been a very, very successful man. You've been a very successful artist. You've been a very successful business person and all kinds of endeavors. However, I know from my successes that I've had in life that they are only built upon numerous failures. And you try something and it doesn't work out, and you just have to get up the next day and come up with another idea and just hit that bag again. And can you tell us about feeling defeated and feeling like maybe you made the wrong choices, or, any times that you were discouraged and you kept going?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll just go back and I'll preface before I even get into any of that. And playing high school football, I learned how to get knocked down and how to get right back up and get in the game. And that, to me, has been one of the biggest lessons in life that has got me through so many times, just to kind of remember that's where I got to be. This is what I got to do. My own personal failures, with that in mind, probably the biggest would be my music career. And as long as I've pursued it. What I would perceive as success has never been able to be reached. It's eluded me my entire life, and especially as of late. And I just don't know, even right now, if I can get back into it. It's quite personal right now. Nate, who was Nate Winger, the lead singer and drummer in my band, he passed away in August. And it's been kind of an awakener for me. It's almost like the door had just been slammed shut. And so I'm just kind of recovering from that. And, but even through high school, I enjoyed being a musician in a band. I left college to pursue music because I realized that staying in college for 4 years for an art degree seemed kind of pointless when everything I was learning was being so outdated by technology at that point in time. And having counseled with my senior advisor my senior year, I realized that maybe it was time to move forward. And so my art became a way I supported my musical habit, back then. And music was something that it's such a part of my life and has evolved my creative juices throughout the years, and involved with a lot of mechanical stuff that I do, building guitars, painting guitars, just music in general. But when it comes down to it as a musician, it's definitely been my biggest failure. But it's also been, the flux for a lot of tangent successes. As an artist, a visual artist, I think that I failed in many ways by letting other things get in the way of my artistic vision and what I've had for myself. And despite that, I've still managed to get where I am. Building guitars, I fail to reach a market that's willing to pay me for my services. And so I don't build spec instruments anymore where I think, oh, this is really cool, I'm going to build this, because it starts to put my creativity and my time involved into somebody else's perspective of value. And now that I've had the freedom that I've had within the last 4 years, my wife is just kicking ass at her job and stuff and doing what she does. Like I said, it's things, those recognitions of those negative points in my life and my career, and identifying them and having them humble me, make me want to move forward in a different direction, or maybe in the same direction but with a different speed, a different intensity, wearing different clothes. I don't know, some way or shape or form, but we all fail.
Yes.
I mean, we all fail. And our greatest successes come from, our most painful failures. And, it's tough. It's tough. And everybody deals with it. It's not easy, but looking back retrospectively, I think that, they mold you. And there's a lot of personal failures. I mean, myself, my health at times, stuff like that. I mean, the list could go on and on. Which things of acknowledgement, allow you to put that in perspective and make changes. If you don't identify failure in your life, then you're not giving yourself the opportunity, or you put yourself on such a pedestal that nothing's going to knock you down, and you're not going to have the opportunity to benefit with change and adaptation.
Well, Mike, I really, really appreciate you taking that question head on, because, I sometimes I don't ask that question, but when I'm dealing with somebody that has obviously been super successful in their life, I always ask that question, and I always get a similar response. The biggest failures that I ever hear about are from the people that were most successful, because people just don't understand, that they're failing, but so is everyone else. And, somebody that you're looking up to has probably failed a lot more than you have, and
Sure.
If you can just get that in your mind and not be discouraged every time you fail, who knows? Who knows?
Right.
Maybe you end up having a guitar company with your name on the neck of all these guitars that going out to the Grateful Dead and whatever. It's just because this guy fell down a bunch of times and kept getting up. And that's the message that I like to use this conduit and this show to point out to people, especially when we have an opportunity to have a guy like you on the show saying, hey, I've been there. I failed and I, didn't think I was worth it or whatever. And then, look at you. You know, I mean, all the awesome stuff. I mean, it's just great that you give that to people.
Well, it's certainly, an experience that everybody should give themselves the opportunity to live. I always tell. In fact, I just got done addressing my high school. I was back home in Pennsylvania, and I got to speak to a couple hundred students in the art and music program there.
Oh, good.
And had a very straightforward chat with them about pursuing your dreams and how things have changed, but how some things haven't, and how success is the program for success. It's an upward movement, you know what I mean? But it's got some lateral plays these days in regards to marketing and social media and internet and stuff like that, where we didn't have that necessarily when we were growing up as youngsters.
Right.
But it was cool, and and I think it was a good opportunity to reach on. That was my calling. I'm a big guy who believes in karma, and I think that I've been blessed with so many different opportunities. Even if I was to lose them all tomorrow, I'd still feel that way, and it would give me the opportunity to reinvent myself. And but looking back and after the chance to talk to these kids, is probably the greatest opportunity you can have after you've gotten to a certain point in your career. And even talking to yourself and anybody who might take the time to listen to the show, to reach them and try to find.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've all overcome our demons personally. And fortunately, for us, we're still alive despite our own selves and mistakes that we've made when we thought we were invincible and able to recover.
We really shouldn't have made it out of some of those. We don't talk about those until the statute of limitations goes, a little bit further. But.
Can you just imagine how different our lives would be if there were iPhones back in the early 70s?
Oh, we'd be done.
80s.
We'd be done.
It could be both good and bad, but I know I probably would have made America's Funniest Videos at least a few times. I don't know, maybe my music career would have flourished much better than it has. So, but looking back, I'm kind of glad that we didn't have the iPhones.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that for sure. But
I'd like to get away from the dating now.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
No, not talking on the phone with you, but generally the involvement that we have with our electronics in our lives, I think just kind of just beats it down mentally in some ways,
Well, next time we have you on the show, I'd love to have you in the studio with us. Sure. My wife and studio manager always makes a really nice meal on Monday nights for radio night. You're missing a good pot of chili over here.
Well, I would have loved to have done that, and I quite frankly, I had given it some consideration, but I was looking at the weather last week, and I had a pretty good idea that it probably wasn't going to be a smart move to predict what was going to happen today, So,
well, and we pretty much live on opposite ends of the state, but next time we'll have to figure it out. But
Sure.
I one of the things that we like to say around our office is that we're birds. And the reason that we're birds, and Mike, I think you're the ultimate bird. And, the bird doesn't fear the branch breaking, because the bird knows that he can fly to another branch, And so many of these people out there are just squirrels in a tree. And if their branch they're sitting on breaks, they're done.
Right.
If their boss gets mad at them or whatever happens and they get fired, they're done. And, if one of those squirrels in the audience decides that they're going to be a bird tonight because they heard your story and they heard you on the show and they decided that, hey, I'm going to try to go after my dream. And if I fall and I fail, then that's going to be okay. And they end up being a bird and they end up trying building guitars and fail at that. And they do this, that, and the other thing and end up being the greatest drum maker that ever walked the face of the earth. That's my art. That's what I hope I can do for somebody. And, I think it's just really, you have really, taken all of that fear away from yourself by just flexing your God-given talent in a way with hard work and tenacity.
Well, and there's a certain amount that, is a amount of guided faith as well. I know that my heart and my intentions are in the right place. And, if I'm wrong, I'm the first to admit it. And, I think that I do that with confidence. Moving from Erie, Pennsylvania to Arizona and not having really much to my name other than $50 a job and a dog, I was pretty willing to completely eat failure at that point in time. And that set a standard for myself, knowing that, like we talked about earlier, the chances, the educated guesses, the calculated risk, and investing in yourself, and those things that you have to be willing to do. You have to be willing to lose it all. I remember a conversation I had with my father. It was about 12 years ago, and I had just moved up to Colorado, and we had our house in Arizona still because the market was so bad. We were getting eaten up on a house we owned down there. My father said to me, he goes, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. And I'm like, why is that, Dad? And he's like, well, because if that ladder gets kicked over, you're going to fall. You're going to fall hard. And I was just like, wow, really? So you wouldn't even once begin to reckon that, I've climbed a ladder, and I'm the one willing to risk losing everything I have by coming up here and making the chance. And, that was really kind of a really an awakening moment for me to have that conversation with my dad, because it really clued me in on a sense of perspective that I just couldn't understand. I just couldn't get it. I didn't get it. I don't know what happened to me. I don't know how I got where I was when I had a dominating male figure in my life, through 28 years with that attitude, that feeling like I'm going to lose everything. Well, what would I have really lost? I mean, I would have lost a few more steps maybe on that ladder, but I would have gained the knowledge of how to set that ladder back up and climb it much faster. And he just didn't get that. And, it's difficult for me to realize that, because my father's gone, and I don't really think that I've ever heard ever in my lifetime from him, I'm proud of you. And so for me to battle that instinctively and intuitively all my life, it's given me a perspective point, that I think, oh, geez, I always want to make sure my dad would be proud. And even though he doesn't have to say it, he wouldn't have had to say it, I think I knew that he was in the way that he carried himself.
Sure.
But his perspective was completely different than mine, Mark's. It was just crazy.
I had the same discussion with my dad when I started my computer store in '93. He wanted to know why I didn't go just work for IBM. And I was coming out of a corporate job, and I said, I don't want to march in line and wear a suit, and But he came at me with that perspective out of worry because he'd lost everything. When we were growing up, we were poor because my father was an alcoholic and lost everything. And God bless him, he got sober, and he died with 27 years of sobriety and built himself back up. And he was afraid that, I was going to fall and I wanted to fly.
Yeah.
And so what it did
breathing is better at the top of the ladder.
Yeah. Well, what happened to me, and I'll ask you that question as well, but, with my daughters and my adopted son, Daniel here, I try to go out of my way to make sure and congratulate them on their successes. And I try to make sure that every time I didn't hear that from my dad, or I heard that maybe, a little bit negative things about what I'm trying, when my girls or my people that are really close to me want to tell me about what they're doing, I encourage them. I tell them, hey, what's the worst that can happen?
Right.
You're gonna either win or you're gonna get some experience.
Right.
Yeah, man, that's it. You can't be afraid. You definitely can't be afraid. And I'm blessed with watching my daughter really thrive as an artist these days, and it was something that we never really pushed on her. And as we talk about the things that we learned from the messages, maybe the greatest messages are from without words being spoken in regards to learning from the ways of our family and our parents and stuff like that. But I think that I didn't want to push her in anything, but now I'm watching her since she's recovered from the motorcycle accident she had last summer or 2 summers ago, watching how she's creatively blossomed. It's just been super rewarding for me to know that I had very little to do with it other than a chromosome.
But I love her jumping into that whole circle of people there. She's holding her own amongst all of your contemporaries that are around the Airbrush Art Circus, and she is Michael Learn. She is not Mike Learn's daughter.
No, totally. She's definitely there, and she's going to Vegas with me next week to be the youngest artist ever to represent and work at the House of Color booth, right alongside me, which is going to be another first that's never happened in the history of House of Color and Sherwin-Williams.
I am so proud of her. Please mention that to her. What a great gal. She is just right in there scrapping it out. And I think that's what you gave her, that tenacious drive. That's a kind of an instinct thing.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, she's had to see me fight and scratch along the way, doing what I had to do. I didn't really, probably should have at times, kept it more to myself, but oftentimes I just, I've always been the type to kind of speak before he thinks sometimes. And my wife will let you know about that anytime you want. But
you have a very close family too, and when you're close, you kind of help each other.
Yeah, we have a very close family, and even probably more so now that she doesn't live with us, and she lives up in Longmont. And Morgan, who was the young lady we were blessed to have in our lives and take care of for 6 years, and she was Micah's daughter or sister for the most part, and so both of them being gone now and stuff, doing what they're doing, it's really weird. I don't know. I look around and I'm like, I used to have so much more responsibility in that sense that am I raising my daughter right? Am I being a good father? And now I'm just a guy, a creative guy who lives in this house that I'm remodeling with my wife. The family aspect inside the household has disappeared. But with that being said, I think that the fact that she is away, enjoying her life and doing what she does, that brings us that much more close together, and certainly makes trips like this adventure to Vegas here next week going to be very special as well.
Well, because that truly is your greatest creation. That's the greatest piece of art that you can make. I've told Daniel many times in private, and I'm sure I'll embarrass him here, but I've raised him since he was just getting off of a ski lift, and he started working with me 25 years ago. I tell him, as a manager and as a business person, I mean, Daniel, you're the best thing that I've ever made, and I believe in that. As far as in my work life, the best thing that I've ever done is to get Daniel to the point where he is now. And
I appreciate it.
It's a pretty neat thing that you look at her and you're like, hey, I did that. I was there for that. I was a part of that. And
right. Well, what what is it when we're gone, Mark? I mean, death is merely the perception of how we're remembered by those we left behind.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I mean, other than what unknown is ahead of us, I mean, it's the impressions that you leave on people, the impact you leave. That is pretty much, what we're remembered by. The most important asset, I think, that we have as people. Well, what we do is really minuscule in comparison to who we impact and influence.
It's the greatest joy that I have in my life. Whenever somebody tells me, look, you had an impact on me, my life is different because you helped me, or you think something you said changed me, and I, there's nothing bigger that I have in my life than that, and you have done a ton of that, as I know.
Yeah, I'm really fortunate that I still have very good contact with the people who blessed me with, things that given me character and strength and courage. And fortunately, when I was just home, I got to hang out with two of my old football coaches. And so that was cool. And all my friends that, I played football with all through high school, we're all still very close. And we actually, a lot of us share a running text on our iPhones that we've had going for 4 years now. And it's just like we've never, left conversation since we were 16, 17 years of age. But those are all
the people are more important than the things in all cases.
Yeah. When we were talking earlier about some of the things, that I do and stuff like that, like the things that I do enjoy, that I like to share with other people too, like my BMX stuff. Everybody says, oh my God, you must be, are you like wanting to do a bike business? Or are you trying to sell those? It's like, no, I'm not trying to sell those, and those are the little things that I do enjoy doing. And then my friends, it's funny because, from way back when we'd grown up as kids riding our BMX bikes and all that stuff, I've got friends, calling me from 35 years ago that I haven't seen, hey man, I still have this old bicycle in my garage, do you want it? And that's really, quite frankly, how I've ended up with a lot of those.
And then you bring them back to life.
Yeah, I do. I enjoy that. It's, those are, I consider those short-term dedications to focus, whereas like my motorcycles and my Volkswagens are long-term, dedications and focus to get from A to Z on those things and finish those long-term projects. Sometimes you got to step away from them and take a break, And we've been remodeling here now that the girls aren't living downstairs and stuff. So the bicycles have been one of those things that I do to keep my sanity. And music was that way for me for a while too. And then that started to get to the point where I was really questioning whether or not I was benefiting mentally from music industry and the failures I was seeing and the obstacles and how changed the music industry was. But the little bicycles, man, they kind of keep me, having some fun.
Well, let me tell a story. Let me tell a quick story about you that's on this point, and you can answer a quick question. But I think a guy like you needs, a little fuel dropped in the tank every once in a while creatively. And I remember one day I was coming up to see you because you were donating some time and mentoring a young kid that I brought to you and helping him kind of stay on the straight and narrow, who is actually doing a great job after he worked with you in the shop for a little bit. And he always says to tell you hi. But
Cool.
I walked in to check on things, and you were building this massive model of a tank, like a Sherman tank, out of a big plastic model. And I'm like, Mike, what are you doing? And you're like, this looked interesting. So, and you were painting it how you do and whatever. And I thought, man, he just needs it. It's like a drug. I mean, he needs to create something and make something to get you to the next stage. Is that true?
That is true. And, and quite honestly, I used to have 13 employees when I was in Arizona. And when I moved up here, it was pretty much just me out in the shop, and Diane would take care of things inside here, shipping and fulfillment, website, marketing stuff. And now that she's not even around during the day, it's just me. So some of the things that I do, she's always telling me I need to go out and have some form of social life interaction with people, because I can become a recluse, because I can occupy myself so easily inside of my own little imaginative world.
Sure.
And when I have things like, that bust me out of some of my OCD, or my ADHD at times, I don't know what it is, what they call it, but I can certainly have focus and not have focus. But yeah, I'd like to spice it up. I like to do a lot of different things. There's still some things on my list that I still haven't gotten to yet, but one of them that I would like to try to get to would be metal engraving and doing like really high-end firearm type of stuff.
Sure.
Chopper stuff, tattoo work. I've had people approach me about doing that for so many times, but I only want to do one type of tattoo, and that's only grayscale. I only want to work in grayscale because I think that's where I would thrive best as a tattoo artist.
No, absolutely.
There's other things, there's other things I want to do. I'm just hoping that I'm going to be blessed with enough time to do that. I've got the support now. It's just a matter of, finding the time, and when it's right, when the timing's right, I throw myself in at 100%, So I've got little things right now, kind of, I think, taking me away from some of those focuses, but they're on the XY portion of the A to Z. So they're slowly getting there.
Well, it's been a fascinating talk with you, Mike. And if you ever do get into the tattoo business, I call first, dibs. And I love the Grayscale Tattoo by Mike Learn.
Right on. Awesome. Well, I'd be happy to do that.
Is there anything else you'd like to say to the audience out here, but when we're starting to shut down?
No, I appreciate the opportunity just to, come and speak to people and have a chance to reach out and, spread the gospel of my own madness. And
absolutely,
certainly thank you more for the friendship that you've given me throughout the years and
absolutely
confided in me. And you've done me through the best of my life and the lowest points of my life in the last 8 years. So I appreciate that. And certainly anytime I have a chance to spread the word about, what I do creatively, I got to do more of it. Like you said, I don't always toot my own horn.
Which you should do that more often. As a matter of fact, the Mark Hope Show travels, along the airwaves and iTunes and YouTube, and we also reside pretty heavily on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all those different channels. Would it be okay if we were to ask you if we could take the Mark Hope Show podcast Facebook page and put some of the Mike Learn artwork on there and allow some of the listeners to see some of what you're doing, and maybe you could jump in and do a little kind of a guest host for that showing of some of your artwork, that some of pick out some artwork that you'd like people to see?
Yeah, you're more than welcome to whatever you can grab off of my personal Facebook page. Probably has the widest collection of stuff I've done the last 12, 13 years. Everybody
that's listening, Mike's going to have that on the Mark Hope Show podcast page, and he's going to check in on us and maybe answer some questions. And please, if you really want a high quality piece of art done for you, or a student that or a friend of yours who's passionate about music or anything like that, definitely reach out to Mike. And it's definitely not going to be cheap, but it is going to be a cherished item that you'll have the rest of your life. And I say that by experience. So
thank you.
That was great.
We'd love to have you on the show again some other time, Mike, especially if you've got
you just say when.
Some exciting project. I love the updates.
Yeah, anytime.
All right, so for everyone who has voted, we've got where the question was, what is Mike Learn's first love aside from his family? We have art at 57%, motorcycle fabrication at 29%, and playing music at 14%. Mike, why don't you tell them which one the right answer is?
Oh, it's definitely art. It's definitely art.
That's what I picked.
You picked art.
Yeah,
Me too.
Yeah, I feel as though that's my earliest recognition of the opportunities I was blessed with and the talents that I had, and everything else has kind of just been tangent to that. And creativity is all in one, the same thing, no matter how it's voiced, drawn. Everybody has it. It's unique to themselves. It's much like a fingerprint is always my metaphor, and everybody's fingerprint is different, and their level of creativity and how they reach people in that way is unique and to its own in their own way. Everybody has their own way to be a unique and cool artist.
That's awesome, Mike. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you being on the show.
All right. Take care, Mike. Thanks for being on.
All right, Daniel. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
And there we go.
What a great guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He is fascinating. That show could have been 7 hours. I mean, we didn't even touch on anywhere near all of the stuff he does. I mean, that guy is amazing.
Very, very much so. We can probably drop these guys now, and we've got our next guest waiting downstairs.
Okay.
Ready to go whenever you are.
Yeah, let's get him up here.
All right. Hold on one second here. We're gonna take all that off, and here we go.
Hey, everybody, thank you for sticking around for the Mike Learn interview. We're going to do some more fooling around as we make B-roll and do some other show stuff. We got one of our sponsors going to come in and talk to us about some things that they're doing at the computer store. If you can't hang on for that, we get it. Thank you for your support of the show, and I really, really appreciate you guys liking and subscribing on all the channels and checking in and being part of what we do. Hopefully we inspire somebody and get somebody introduced to something new, or give somebody an idea about doing a business that they think that they should do, or getting some help with their business that they're trying to get off the ground. And thank you so much for always supporting the show.
All right, next we have
Jeff Meyer.
We gotta move the stuff around a little bit, huh? Or you can squeeze in with you. However you want to do this. We have but 2 cameras.
Yes.
All right.
As a matter of fact, I tell you what, why don't we just let Jeff take over my spot?
All right.
And why don't you interview him about what's going on down at the computer store?
Perfect. Okay.
And I will go get some chili.
What? Wait a minute.
It's good.
All right, guys. We are letting Mark go get something to eat, and we've got Jeff Myers from Action Computers hanging in there. You've got.
Here I am. I see myself
in the talking to that part there.
Gotcha. Yep.
All right.
How's everybody doing?
Doing good. Okay, so what do we
Awesome
got?
show, by the way.
Oh well, thank you.
Man,
All right, guys.
so glad to be here.
Yeah. All right. So what do we have going on at the computer store now? First of all, was it on fire?
I was gonna answer that question.
No.
It is not on fire.
Right.
Yeah, it was a silly thing. And
Okay.
yeah.
No.
Fire department came, but everything was A-okay.
All right,
So
well, great
yep,
deal.
there was not a fire.
Okay. What do we got going on here? You've got a printer in your hand.
Yeah,
What do you got here?
I actually got a couple good things.
All
So one of the first things, we got an iPad Pro. I'll try to get it in the. There you go.
Do you need you can see yourself there, or do you need
I can't see myself here. There's a mouse pad in front of it. There we go. I can see myself now.
That's
Okay.
great.
So there's an iPad Pro. This is the big one. This is the 12.9 inch one. Really big screen on these. We got a special buy on these. They're normally $499. We're doing a special $450 on them. And the Mark Hope Show listeners get a discount on these. They go for $399. And we got a couple of them, really nice iPads. And like I said, the iPad Pro, huge screen on these. If you haven't used one, they're awesome.
how big is that?
12.9 inches.
12, okay,
Yep,
15
it's a big guy. So yeah, they're really nice. $1,000 new right now through Apple. Now this one's a couple generations old, still gonna work fine. But I mean, for $1,000, I mean, they're cool. But this one, definitely nice. So
Okay. What else you got?
Also got a HP laptop.
HP Lab, okay.
I meant to turn this on before I came up here, but here it is. Oh. So
why don't you talk while it's booting up, and you can
definitely
everybody can see.
So I really like these. I have kind of a personal connection to these. My wife Ashley, she's probably watching right now. She had one of these, and we got a bunch of these in at the computer store.
First of all, notice how fast that came up. That's not bad.
Oh yeah, I still can't see myself, but I can see myself on your screen. Oh, I'm over there. Hello. Yeah. I'm new at this, guys, so bear with me. But yeah, I mean, it does come up really fast, and if you can see on the keyboard too, you got a backlit key. Kind of hard to see. There it is.
You can see it. Yeah.
Backlit keys, which is really nice when it goes dark outside. Or in the room you're in. But yeah, very fast, brushed aluminum top, really nice computers. I mean, nice Ultrabook computers can be $1,000. You know, you can spend a lot of money on them. We sell this thing for $130.
All right, what's the difference between that and something you just go get at Best Buy or whatever?
It's quality. It's a quality thing. They're better made, better parts inside. They're really made for longevity. They're made to last. Yep. So. Yeah, much better.
What else we got here?
So this was the thing that you weren't too sure about, and I brought it just kind of for fun.
Was it a printer?
It is not a printer.
Not a printer. Oh, well, look at that.
This is a scanner, and this is kind of a special thing. Action Computers does computers. We do computers really well, but we also do enterprise things like scanners. And this is a paper-fed scanner. And you look at this thing, and you're like, oh, cool, yeah, whatever. This is a pretty cool thing. I actually used one of these to do a bunch of receipts. I scanned a bunch of receipts and bills and things. You just don't want to keep around the house. You throw it in this thing and it makes them all digital. Saves them as a PDF. They look really nice. And, those new are, again, $600 things. I mean, they're just so expensive.
And how much does that go for?
$100 at the computer store. Okay. Yep. And Mark Hope Show listeners get a discount on all this stuff. We'll put that up in the comments later. But, I mean, just awesome stuff down there right now. So great deals, too.
All right, I'm sure everybody listening knows about Action Computers. But if not, how can we find you?
So on the web, actionpc.com. You can look us up there. We're on Facebook. Again, we'll put something in the links so that you guys can look at us on there. And around the world, actionpc.com.
That's right.
A couple different places. Yep.
Awesome. All right. What else? Tell us what else is going on down there. What do we got? Tell us something that's happened over at the computer store. Or you're here. You might as well tell us the story.
Service is always busy, and we have been doing. I mean, especially around the back to school time, we were so busy. We're one of the longest lasting used computer stores in Colorado. We've been around for 25 years, so during that time, we've really had a chance to, grow, get a reputation, and our reputation is good, high quality service. At a good price, and we do that really well. But yeah, one of the things that I hear a lot for people coming in is, we are so much more thorough with the jobs that we do, and we're so much more friendly too. I mean, you go to the big stores, there's some 16-year-old kid there that doesn't really know what he's doing. You come to Action and you get guys who we're enthusiasts. We love what we do. We're very good at it, and it's a big difference. It really makes a big difference. I've been on the other side of the counter too, and I mean, it's not fun to go someplace where no one knows what they're doing. Mechanic shop. I've been to a mechanic before that's like, this guy's had to have been here for 2 days and he's fixing my car. I'm not comfortable with that. A lot of our guys really know what they're doing, and lots of service specials too. $75, we can do a full cleanup on your computer, make it run like new. So that's a great deal too.
That is awesome.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, thanks for stopping by.
Of course. Great show tonight, guys. Wow. It's so great listening to Mike and Mark and all their stories, and love listening to you guys. So.
Guys, thank you so much. Everybody knows, but the Action Computers is the official computer store of the Mark Hope Show, and they do some great work over there. It's really worth checking out. And thanks for hanging out, Jeff. And he's out the door. Okay, great. Well, you know what? I think everyone has left, so it's just me now. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up the show. I really appreciate everybody hanging out and watching and listening tonight. And sorry for the little difficulties earlier, but we got it all straightened out. The podcast will show up on iTunes, Google Play, and now we're on Spotify. So if you're on Spotify, check that out. You can search for the Mark Hope Show there and find us there. If you find us, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and you'll get notified when we put a new episode out. Also, all these will end up on our YouTube channel. Feel free to find us there, the Mark Hope Show on YouTube, and subscribe there. And if you do, drop us a comment. We'd love to hear what you guys think of the show. And thanks all for listening. And we will be back next week with a whole new show for everybody. And we appreciate it. Have a good evening. And thanks for watching.